Hello, everyone. Welcome back to All About Mag, all sports, all the time. This is another segment for All About CFFL, where we go through the Community Flag Football League, discussing and reviewing the game week that just happened and what a game week it was. Um, Myself, Bobby AAR Sports, joined with my amazing co-host.
I am the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, analytical, methodical individual, D. Adebola Ogudoba.
Yes, sir. And yeah, we're glad to be here again. We're going to take you through the whole week like we usually do. So Debola, please take us away.
All right, starting us off with the CFFL Season 3, Week 6 recap. We have the play of the week. And this week we have an amazing play from Adams of the Outlaws, juking the entire Titans defense for the touchdown. What a play.
Yeah, he just made himself, he just made it hard to made the whole team miss, made it hard to grab that flag. Constant movement, kept it going, all while progressing to the end zone. And he got the way there with two flags on. Yeah, extremely commendable. And of course, the hype and the selling at the end. So that was an awesome play to get the Outlaws going in that game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I believe Adams was your player to watch
Yes,
at the
sir.
start of the season.
Yes, sir. No, he's definitely. I think the way the Outlaws has started has also just generally limited a lot of athletes who were looking out for um in this in the Outlaws. So Farouk, Adams particularly for me. So the more they are able to get better as a team, I think we'll see better performances from those athletes as a whole. Yeah.
Totally, totally. Moving on to our next segment, score lines and storylines, where we break down each match, what happened, and our predictions, whether they were right or wrong. Starting with the first game for the week 6 recap, we have Wolverines versus the Giants. A big game, if you will, with a big score line. 33 to the Wolverines and 13 to the Giants. Bobby, you had 20 to 15 in favor of the Wolverines, and I had a tight game, 24 to 25 in favor of the Giants. What are you thinking on what happened? Let's know.
The actual scoreline doesn't tell the story. It tells a completely different story to how that game actually went. I think it doesn't do the Giants justice for what transpired in that game. You're going to see the scoreline and you're going to think, oh, it was a walk in the park for the Wolverines. It was not a walk in the park for the Wolverines, despite what they may want to believe. That game was close at a point. It was 17-13, and the Giants were at the Wolverines end zone. If they scored that touchdown, the Giants were going to go up in that game. It was panic stations on the sideline.
Yep.
And no one can deny that from the Wolverines camp. But it was literally just bubbled passes from the Giants that, of course, then we could now see the quality of the athletes from Wolverines now stepping, where they were able to take advantage and
Yep.
punish Giants. So that's what happens. And then one thing that also we need to take into consideration is also the fact that you have the Giants in a team that was extremely intense in how they started the match. But only a few caliber of teams can keep that intensity for the full game. And that's what showed. And just kudos to the Wolverines, third and female. We called them out that they needed they needed to do more to support the team, not just third and female, but just the females generally in the Wolverines had an amazing game this game day. It was awesome. We had three picks. I can remember that they ran all the way to the end zone. Two of them getting close in Bamiri and
Yeah.
Nicola, and then Inigo all the way returned for a pick six. So amazing
Yeah.
game for the Wolverine ladies, and of course for the Wolverines to bounce back. Welcome back, Wolverines. We're expecting a tougher team the back end of the season.
All right, moving on to the second game. This game was actually a lot tighter than we both anticipated. The Mavericks versus the Hawks. This game ended 20-15 in favor of the Mavericks. A one touchdown game that came down to the wire. Bobby, you predicted 35-24 in favor of the Mavericks, and I predicted 30-13 in favor of the Mavericks. What do you have to say about what happened on the field?
It was all the fireworks that we expected. That's what we got. All the fireworks, every single thing, the sideline antics, the pressure on the field. The refs had a tough, just in fact, the whole game day, the refs had a tough one, but particularly this game was intense right from the off, and we all knew that's what we were gonna get. The game progressed nicely. It was back to back. It was back and forth for a while, and which made for a good watch. Bit of dark arts from the Mavericks though, getting into the Hawks' heads, and making the game a bit more emotional than it would have been, and it worked to their favor. Getting players rattled up, making them make mistakes, penalties all around. And if the Mavs didn't win this game, it would have been chaotic. I can't lie, because they had about what, maybe three touchdowns brought back, and
Yeah,
taken away from them. So they would have felt hard done by. But wait to stay locked in from the Mavericks, wait to stay locked in. It was a good game all around.
not to mention how many Mavericks players went down during the game. The amount of physicality from the Hawks proved almost too much for the Mavericks to bear, but they pulled
Mhm.
through.
They did, they did, they did.
Yeah. It was definitely a good game. Moving on to the third game, which hits a little close to home, but I'll try to keep it as professional as possible. We have the Titans versus the Outlaws. Woo! Bobby, you had the Outlaws winning 30-26, and I had the Titans dominating 40-26. Bobby, congratulations to you and congratulations to Outlaws Athletics. The scoreline ended in favor of the Outlaws, 35-10. What do you have to say
Um,
before I say what I have to say?
if I'm to look at it from a neutral spectator's point of view, unfortunately, that was the most underwhelming match of the game week. Because the Titans just didn't, fight back the way we know they can. The Outlaws had an amazing outing. I mean, you should have heard the sidelines, the banter, the joy, the energy, the excitement. There was a lot going on. Speaking of joy, speaking of excitement, speaking of getting back on their feet, could it have been because a particular golden girl returned to the game? Maybe didn't contribute on the field, but maybe by morale. And we saw the Outlaws getting back to their winning ways. Maybe it's a coincidence, or maybe it's just the good luck charm they've been missing all season. And it's good for the Outlaws to be back. Definitely, if they continue on this trajectory, the playoffs is definitely, we think touching distance for them. But the
Yep.
Titans just didn't get going all game. They just didn't get going all game, and this is their first loss of the season, and this loss was a loss. It was not a tough loss. It was just a loss. It was a bad loss. So hopefully they're getting all of this out of the system, and of course, heading towards the back end of the season, they're going to be ready for the playoffs and for a championship run.
Like you said, the playoffs, that is what I believe is in the Titans' minds right now. This loss is obviously heavy on them, right? Considering all that happened in the game. The scoreline in this instance tells the full story. It was an amazing showing from the
Facts,
Outlaws, and
facts.
it was very uncharacteristic from the Titans. At the beginning of the season, Bobby, you mentioned that the Titans are a team where mentally, if they come correct, that's the team to beat. On the other hand, if they do not come correct, it's an easy walkover win.
Yeah,
Clearly, this game and this scoreline shows which type of way the Titans came.
yeah,
And for them, just looking ahead to the playoffs, right? Because as it stands right now, the Titans are playoff bound. Right? They will be looking to make corrections and make adjustments where needed because one loss does not define your entire season up
absolutely.
until the playoffs, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, facts,
and I'm
facts.
missing sure from still.
Facts, facts. So, yeah, the playoffs, we all know that the playoffs is a different ball game. It's not the season. It's a different ball game. So, we'll wait for the team that we're gonna see in the playoffs from the Titans.
All right, moving on to our fourth and final game, the week 6 scorelines and storylines. We have the Spartans versus the Lions. Bobby, this game, this game did not go in the way either of us predicted. I had a tie at 28-28, and you had 27-20 in favor of the Spartans. The Lagos Lions took one look at our score prediction and said, wait just one moment.
Eh,
15 to the Lions and 7 to the Spartans. Bobby, what are you thinking?
this is a Spartans team that we were just praising that they have been getting better week in, week out. What was it, 27, 30 something, 40? They were
Yep.
progressing, and kept on, on that trajectory, only to be held to 7 points by the Lions. My goodness. Talk about defense. We have a defensive masterclass in that team. That team the offense is probably a distraction from how good their defense is because
Yes.
the team, everybody is locked in, everybody is talking, everybody is communicating, everybody is on job. If someone misses a flag, there's another person on just there to cover up. But let me go back to what I said would be the key thing for the predictions. I said that if the Spartans had Otto on the sideline, that was going to be the key difference for them because they had someone on the outside looking in, and the Lions didn't have anybody because Garba hadn't been around. But look at the game week. Guess who showed up on the sidelines? Garba, and he was there to of course give the Lions that edge, looking, being on the outside, looking in, and of course dictating, directing, and making sure that any lapses, any gaps that the Lions would have had, he shut them down. And that, I believe, is what gave the Lions the edge. Of course, the players, my goodness, the Spartans scoring 7 points was not because they were bad. It's because they were strapped by the Lions. Way to go, Lions.
Way to go, Lions. All right. Moving on to the table as things stand after week 6, we have the Lions with a perfect record, 6-0. We have the Titans just following behind 5-1. The Spartans 4-1 with a game in hand. Outlaws 3-3. Wolverines 3-2. The Giants, Mavericks, and Hawks each sharing one win. Then last but not the least, Liquid Sports Club coming in at 5 losses heading into week 7. Bobby, I'm going to take this to you in a moment, but who do you think after week 6 has the most points scored? Which team do you think?
The most points scored. It should be the Titans.
Yeah,
It should be the Titans.
you are correct. It is the Titans with 199 points scored for them.
Almost 200.
Almost 200. That is incredible. Now, which team do you think has the least amount of points scored on them?
Least amount of points scored on them. I just
Yep.
praise their defense. It's the Lions.
You would be so close and yet so wrong. It is the
The
Spartans,
Spartans,
the
right?
champions. Yes.
With
One thing we know about the Spartans is they play a very stingy game, and it shows in the table. They have only conceded 65 points through 5 games in week
Mhm.
6.
Yeah, but with one less game played, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see.
Well, well, you're actually not far off because the Lions come in at second with the least
Right,
amount of points scored against them with
right.
75. So the Spartans are at 65, Lions 75 points against them. So it is very tight. Two teams that are
Yeah,
very solid, both
yeah,
offensively and defensively.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's just it.
And
One,
now I wanted
if
to
I had
just point out something. Sorry, I wanted to just point out how crazy that table is. How we have the finalists from last season in the Wolverines being what are they fifth or sixth on the table? Fifth.
fifth on the table,
This is a
yeah,
team that in my power ranking, I had them as first. And it just shows again, like I
well,
said from the start of the season, the first to the fifth, anybody can win this league. Any one of those
yeah,
teams can win this league. And it's incredible to see. I mean, it's quite a I don't know now. It's a great kudos to management to be able to have such a gifted balance of teams where it's extremely competitive and it's that's why it's just so exciting to watch every time.
if there's one more bit of information I could pass across, the Lions have scored 177 points. And on the flip side, Liquid Sports Club have conceded 177 points. So that's a little bit of interesting knowledge.
Interesting. First and last. Glory.
Yep. 177. I wonder what's so special about that specific number. But it is what it is.
It is what it
All
is.
right, that's it for scorelines and storylines. Moving on to our next segment, around the league. Around the league, where we talk about what happens off the field that may or may not affect what happens on the field. And this week, we are speaking on discipline, order, and respect, from the players to the referees to the fans. Bobby, could you take us off?
Yeah, it's bringing on this game week, game six of course, of action. We had maybe a record, but we had an un unacceptable number of players ejected from the game. Four players in total were ejected from games this week. Um, all due to, well, largely most of them due to conduct that's not acceptable. And that cannot be the case going forward. Players need to understand that as amazing as you are as an athlete, also part of what you being amazing is also you having self-control, having discipline, being able to carry yourself. We have a lot of young people in the league, but we also have a lot of older people in the league. We have millennials, we have Gen Zs. There ought to be some sort of leadership that we would expect from older, more matured, more seasoned players. And we need to make sure that that happens consistently every week. Why? Because if a player on my team who is meant to be a senior or meant to be an older player on the team, someone that's meant to be have a leadership role is losing it, then you don't expect the younger ones to not to do the same thing. And we've seen that, consistently different game weeks. And just need to make sure that there is a sense of responsibility that people, particularly, those players that are, of course, having leadership roles, to be able to have that self-control. And then also the younger ones, just everyone, coaches as well. We just need to have that order, have that respect for each other, and even more so to the refs, for crying out loud. The refs need to be respected. If not, you can't expect them to even have the confidence to make the calls they want to make. Yes, everybody is growing, but we ought to still have that line that you can't cross. So maybe this is a call to the management of the league to now impose more stringent, more strict repercussions and punishments for athletes and coaches that default in controlling themselves, lose their temper, do things that they ought not to do. Longer bans, 3 game, 4 game bans, um, fines, because clearly people are taking for granted some of the leniency that exists. And of course it's not expected, because you expect people to be mature, but quite clearly there's been a lot of show that we can't handle our emotions. So maybe the league needs to help athletes handle their emotions by implementing some of these more stringent rules. But yeah, we just need to do better collectively, to ourselves, to other teams, and to the coaches and to the refs. Respect all round, and just being able to understand that we don't lose that community value of the Community Flag Football League.
All
Yeah.
right. And Bobby, to add to your points, I just want to say a couple of things. First off, responsibility and accountability, right? Responsibility as players and as individuals, right? You all have a responsibility to yourself to be better, to choose to be better, right? And then you have accountability to your teammates, to the people around you, to your opponents, to the fans in the stand, to any and everybody watching, to keep yourself composed, because it's not just you. You can't just say, I want to pick up a ball and play the entire sport. You can't play every position. You can't be the one to ref the game as well. You can't be the medic. You can't be the person in the stand recording the stats. You can't be the fan cheering for yourself. You can only be one person. The name of this league is the Community Flag Football League. It's a community. It's all of us. One person's actions affect all of us. And you need to take that into consideration when you decide to do the things you decide to do. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we can all be better.
Yeah, facts, facts. Let people stop moving mad. Please, would appreciate less mad movement. Thank you very much.